Hello everybody, this is Laura Susan Johnson with Period Pieces, and today I'm going to do another animated feature, Ponyo. Ponyo. I love Ponyo. I fell in love with it. It's so unique and so, at the risk of sounding redundant, magical. A lot of people describe it as odd, weird, whimsical. It is odd, weird, and whimsical. It's it's not a CGI feature. It's Japanese. It's kind of a Disney movie, but it's definitely very Japanese. It stars Cate Blanchett, Noah Cyrus, Matt Damon, Tina Fey, Frankie Jonas, Cloris Leachman, Liam Neeson, Lily Tomlin, Betty White, love her so much, and I know there's a couple of others of note. Maybe, I mean, there's a lot of names, but I think they're mostly small parts. But those, the ones I named are the main cast. The story is loosely, okay, Hans Christian Andersen wrote the tragic story of The Little Mermaid. Disney took that story and of course made that celebrated animated feature back in 1989, where it was happy ending rather than the ending that was in the book. Ponyo is extraordinarily loosely based on the same story. A little girl who is a fish falls in love with a human, not in a romantic love, like a mature romantic love, but an innocent childlike love. He saves her life and takes care of her and wants to keep her as a pet. And every time he thinks she's dead because she's not in the ocean and she's just in plain tap water or something, he gets so upset that he starts to cry. And I think in her way, she's very moved by that. Her father, Fujimoto, is, I guess, what you would call, they call him an alchemist. They also call him a magician. He says he was once human. Now he's very, very disgusted by humanity. The way we waste, the way we pollute, and honestly, I can't really blame him in that way. I can't blame him for thinking that way. I mean, the ocean is very polluted. It's beautiful, but it's being polluted. Garbage, sludge on the bottom of the ocean. They show that in great detail in a lot of the scenes. There's so many beautiful scenes of the ocean, but there's also a lot of the ugliness being shown. And it's really, really great animation. Even dishwashing liquid bottles washing up on the beach. Yeah, Fujimoto. He can be compared to Ariel's father from The Little Mermaid Disney. he's kind of strict. He wants to keep his children safe and sheltered in their little city, as it were, underground or underwater city, under ocean city. And he doesn't want them wandering too far away from the world he has created for them. He is an alchemist, a magician, and he wants to, he creates life, you know, with his elixirs and potions. And it's going to take many years, I suppose, the way he talks, but someday when a certain well is filled with the various potions and elixirs that he's created, the age of ocean life will become dominant on the planet, and humankind will be no more. That's basically what he's thinking of. Well, that, you know, people said, oh my god, he's such a horrible character. But I think that might be the film's way, or the story's way of saying that naturally that might be the course of the way the planet is going to go. There might have been a time, or there most likely was a time, when this whole globe was covered in water and ocean life was dominant. So it may be that this magician, this unique creation character, was, you know, that he's creating, that he's going to have that era come along again. It's just a story, but it's such a unique and entertaining story. And I don't see Fujimoto as some kind of villainous creature. Sorry about that. I don't see him as some kind of horrible person. I don't think that he's so hateful. I think that Ponyo, rather, kind of, she sees him as hateful. But she's also rebellious and wants to get out and see the world, just like Ariel did. And as you get to know Fujimoto during the course of the movie, he starts to understand that this little boy does love her and care about her, and he wants to make that choice whether or not she should be able to become fully human and give up being an ocean creature. And he's worried about her. She's his creation. She's his daughter. Now, the one thing that I'm stumped on, like a lot of other people were, is how did Fujimoto, a former human, become something else? What exactly is he now? And how in the hell did he mate with a gigantic goddess of mercy? They call her the Goddess of Mercy. One of the sailors on... I cannot... I know it's Koichi, voiced by Matt Damon. He's somebody on his boat called her the Goddess of Mercy, and that's the only name I ever heard her spoken. I mean, ever heard anybody refer to her by. She's this beautiful woman. She's gigantic. She's a goddess. She swims in the ocean. Whenever she swims by, the ocean just kind of almost like tsunamis whenever she's near, and it turns brilliant colors. And she somehow mated with this human something or other named Fujimoto. I keep wanting to call him Hashimoto. I don't know why. But it's Fujimoto. Anyway, Fujimoto and Grandmamare had all these little kids. What what does Ponyo look like to me? Not a goldfish. Goldfish are little golden orange fish. Ponyo is tomato red with a little pretty cute little face and a tuft of kind of red hair. And white flippers. That doesn't look like a goldfish to me. It almost looks like... not Nemo so much, but just not a goldfish. And she, in the beginning of the movie, she decides to leave. You know, she's rebellious. She wants to leave. And Fujimoto almost catches her, and then she's like, "Hurry up, sisters, get back in the house." She's bigger than the other little girls. I'm not really sure exactly why that is. It's almost like Fujimoto knows that Ponyo has a special something about her, and he already is aware that she's powerful. Her name at first, though, isn't Ponyo, it's Brunilda. I don't know why he calls her that. Brunilda. Terrible name. Doesn't fit her at all. So, she wanders out and she hitches a ride on top of a jellyfish. And my question was, I guess, why did she decide to just suddenly go to sleep? I mean, if you want to see the world, you'd think she'd be all like, "Oh, look at the beautiful surface of the sea. Oh, look at the world," you know, but she just took a nap. So she wakes up just in time to be almost killed by a ship. She's chased by a ship, and she's swirled around in the wake of a ship, and she ends up in a glass jar. And she's washed ashore near a house that's up on a high cliff. And this little boy, about 5 years old, comes down. It's morning time. It's almost time to get ready to go to work and school with this little kid and his mom. The little kid's name is Sosuke. And his mom is played by Tina Fey. Her name's Lisa. And Lisa is married to what's his name? Koichi. And he is a captain of some kind of freighter boat that's always out to sea. I mean, you never see him ever at home. During the whole movie, he's always out on the ocean, doing his work, whatever it is, freighter something. Sosuke, the little boy, he likes to every morning, as much as possible. I mean, what a dream, living next to the ocean. He goes down to the beach, and on this particular morning, he sees the little glass jar with the little fish stuck inside of it. She gets stuck in there. She can't breathe. She can't get out. And he finds her, and he tries to get her out, and he can't even pull her out. And to me, that would probably hurt a fish's scales really bad. But it's a cartoon, and you really don't see any scales on her. So he takes a rock, and he gently tries to break the jar without hurting her, and then he cuts his thumb and takes the glass, brushes it away from her, and he thinks that she's dead, and then she licks the oozing blood that's coming out of his thumb, and he doesn't realize it yet, but she healed that thumb. And in the meantime, while she licked the blood, she ingested human DNA into herself. So she took the first step to becoming human. Now, she never consciously says anything up until that point. She's nonverbal. So you don't have this aerial stuff going on where she's hoarding human artifacts or talking about how I want to get out of here, out of the ocean, and become a human. That's not Ponyo. Ponyo just wanted to, she's a curious little girl. She just wanted to see the ocean, or the top of the ocean, and she didn't have any intention of meeting somebody and, you know, getting stuck in a glass jar. I mean, this is very, very, very little in common with The Little Mermaid. So, Sosuke takes the little fish up to the house, and he and his mother go to... His mother works in a nursing home, and right next door is the preschool, or the, I don't know, kindergarten. He seems old enough for kindergarten. And he puts the little fish in a bucket and fills it up with fresh water. And he wonders every time he goes to check on her, she's asleep, like babies should be asleep, but he's always afraid that she died. And that's very touching. You know, he's got this new pet, he's already very fond and attached, and I think the fish senses it. So it's very sweet, and I think the fish starts to fall sort of in that innocent child love with him, because a little girl comes up and wants to see the fish, and she sort of turns her back on her, and then she spits water out at her. It's really funny. And then he takes the little fish to show the older ladies, Lily Tomlin, Betty White, and some other ladies. And Lily Tomlin plays this kind of, she seems crotchety and grumpy, but in actuality she's senile. And she's always saying, I want to go back to my old house, and she's always afraid, and she's a little superstitious. When Sosuke shows Ponyo to Lily Tomlin's character, Toki, I believe the name is, Toki gets frightened because she says that fish has a face, like, you know, a real face instead of a fish face. Put it back in the ocean, it'll cause a tsunami, which is really, you know, kind of sensitive material. There's been so many tsunamis in the last several years, and there is actually, you know, tsunami-like depictions in this movie, you know, weather and different disturbances and stuff in the ocean, but Betty White's character is adorable. She's just always sweet and in an upbeat mood, and a lot of things happen, a lot of positive things happen for these older ladies. Lily Tomlin is just upset and put it back in the ocean, and so Sosuke takes Ponyo and runs down the cliff to the ocean and wants to get away from all that tsunami talk, and then suddenly he sees Fujimoto, Ponyo's dad, I'm sorry. All these names are starting to tongue-tie me. Ponyo's dad, Fujimoto, starts walking towards him again, looking for the girl, Ponyo. And his magic, the way this almost reminds me of the Abyss a little bit, the way he controls water and makes it to move and shapeshift and stuff. After Ponyo finally speaks for the first time, she says Ponyo loves Sosuke. That's when Liam Neeson shows up and takes Ponyo away, and Sosuke is just heartbroken. And then you have a scene where Tina Fey is angry at Matt Damon because he's decided, you know, he was told he had to take another shift out to sea instead of coming home for dinner. And she had dinner all made up. She's got some kind of delicious, like, I don't know, seaweed soup cooking, and or cabbage soup, and all kinds of stuff on the stove. When Fujimoto takes Ponyo back to his undersea house, he tries to feed her some kind of green vegetable, maybe seaweed or something, some kind of round seaweed. And she refuses to eat it because she's developed a taste for ham. That's become her favorite food. She only tried it once when Sosuke had a sandwich. She just grabbed it and ate it all up. She loved it. And I don't know if she'd eaten since then, because Sosuke only had her for a few hours, like, you know, during the course of a preschool morning, really. And she said, I want ham, and he's like, did you taste human blood too? I guess he knew to ask that because, you know, when they interact with humans, there's bound to, certain things are bound to happen, I suppose. So she said, yeah, I want to go back to Sosuke. I want to be a person. And that's where the Little Mermaid stuff sort of begins to come in. She starts to sprout legs out the back of her and arms, and Fujimoto is horrified. You know, he's like, no, 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 no. And he tries to, like, force her back into her fish state with his hands. And she's very strong, you know, strong-willed. And then he grabs a bunch of his elixirs and drinks them so he can have power. And then he just, like, barely touches her. And she shrinks back down to the goldfish and goes to sleep. And he's just being, to me, he's just being a dad. He wasn't punishing her. He's just trying to protect her. She would see that as a punishment. She would see that as him being mean and hateful and evil to her, but I see that as him just trying to protect her. She's a fish, she's in her natural element, but she wants to be something else because she's found a person on the surface, on land, that she wants to be with and wants to spend time with and wants to live with. And it's a childhood love. It's not like Ariel and Prince Eric. It's a whole different kind of love. It's children. It's not anything to do with sexuality. You know, as they grow older in the years to come, perhaps. But I think more, you know, whether or not that ever comes to be, they may just be friends forever, and Sosuke finds another woman later on in life. Sometimes I think that Ponyo needs a sequel. You know, whether or not Fujimoto and Grandmamare are in a sequel, I still think that maybe Ponyo would need a sequel. Anyway, Ponyo, you hear Fujimoto talking after he puts Ponyo down for a nap with her sisters. He talks about this one room that has this well in it, and again, that's the well where when it's full, the ocean, the age of the ocean will begin again, and people will die out, and the earth will be covered in water, and ocean life will thrive again and rule the world. And he says abominable humans, but it's only because he's disgusted, like I said, with the waste and the pollution and the way we treat our planet like it's our big garbage can, you know. We use things and we throw them away. I'm not trying to preach. I'm just saying what they say in the movie. Once that well is full, which will take centuries probably. And he probably will live centuries. He seems to be not a human anymore. But anyway, he says if any living creature broke in here before the right time, all hell would break loose, so to speak. Well, no sooner does Ponyo supposedly go down for her nap than her little meddling sisters wake her up. These little Ponyo lookalikes, they're really troublesome. I mean, they wake her up, they just meddle a lot, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. They want her to be happy, they're as rebellious as she is, they're unhappy with their dad, they don't like him, I don't know what it is. But there's several scenes where they really stir the pot. So, lo and behold, she starts growing her feet and her legs again, and, you know, oh, look, I'm turning into a person. I'm going to go back to Sasuke. And she breaks out of the place where he put her, and then she breaks out of the wall, and then the thing floods in, and then it floods into that well. Fish floods into that one special room where he's got that well full of all those potions, and then it overflows, and lo and behold, we've got a big problem on our hands, which means suddenly all these little tiny fish evolve into these great big creatures, these prehistoric fish, and water is everywhere. The ocean suddenly, it turns from normal ocean into, like, you know, tsunami-ish ocean. And it's really a mess. And Lisa's driving Sasuke home, who is very depressed because he's lost Ponyo. Ponyo got taken away from him, and so he's been depressed ever since. And while she's driving him home, the ocean has suddenly turned very violent and very stormy. And these guys at the crossing gate, at the dock where the ships get docked, they're like, you can't come through here, it's terrible, there's like waves coming in, tidal waves, you know. And she goes right past them. She's a crazy driver. She's very daring, shall we say. One of the most daring drivers you've ever seen, especially on curvy mountain roads. Anyway, she makes it home, but while they're driving home, Sasuke keeps seeing this little girl in a reddish colored dress walking on the water, or running on the water, and the water seems to be shaped like fish. Well, lo and behold, it's Ponyo, and she's come back. And Lisa can barely believe it. I mean, Ponyo's fish body has evolved into a red dress. Her white flippers have evolved into sort of a diaper or a petticoat. And she has that same shock of beautiful red hair. And she's got the prettiest little face, and she's got the sweetest personality, just like she did when she was a little fishy. And she just can't quite believe that that is the same little fish, because how in the hell would that happen? But she takes them both inside, feeds them some delicious, I don't know if it's green tea with honey, but it looked delicious, even as a cartoon. And then she feeds them some, I don't know, soba noodles. Look like soba noodles with ham and eggs. It was delicious. The kid went crazy over the ham, naturally. She's been craving ham ever since her dad took her away from the human world, so It's for a kids movie with kid voice actors, it's actually very annoying. You know what I mean? It didn't annoy me in the slightest. The curiosity, she's learning about this world that she wants to be a part of. It's so fun, you know, to experience that. And Lisa just kind of being there with them, and it's just fun. But then Lisa decides she has to go check on the older folks that she takes care of because of all this weather that's been happening and all the flooding. So she decides to leave Sosuke and Ponyo at the house. The next morning, it's so flooded that the cliff is flooded all the way up to... I mean, the whole cliff is underwater. That's a high cliff, too. It's got to be... gosh, 1,000 feet up? No, maybe not quite that. I would say at least a good 200 to 300 feet, maybe at 500 feet. It's a high cliff. You can see it from out to sea. It's a beacon for all the ships. That's what they called it. So it's got to be quite a ways up off the ground. So it's flooded all the way to their sliding glass door. With Ponyo's magic, they're able to take a toy boat and make it into a boat big enough for the two of them to fit in, and they decide to go look for his mother because she hasn't returned. And so the rest of the movie is them looking around for her mother and noticing that the entire city that they live in, I don't know what city it is really, they never really do say, but the whole community is just on boats, in boats. Nobody's driving cars anymore because the whole world practically is underwater. The moon is bigger. In the meantime, Koichi, Sosuke's dad, the boat captain, he's been pulled way out to sea with a lot of other ships. They do see a glimpse of that goddess, Grand Mamre. She speaks with him and he says, Ponyo got into the human world. She tasted human blood. She doesn't want to be a fish anymore. What am I gonna do? And then she accidentally broke open the thing and all the elixirs got messed up, and now we got a problem with flooding all over the world, and the moon's getting closer. Everything's out of balance. What are we gonna do? And now she's sort of fallen in love, childish love with this little boy. What if he doesn't love her back? She'll turn into sea foam. There you have a real Little Mermaid reference. That's real. Because that's what happened in the book to the real Little Mermaid. That prince didn't love her. He married some other woman or something, and she turned into sea foam. And Mom, Grand Mamre, Kate Blanchett, she's not worried. She says, that's what will happen to all of us. We all eventually die and turn into sea foam. There's nothing to worry about. Either way, that's what happens to all of us. But he's worried. He's her dad. He loves her. And she loves the girl too. Mom loves her too. She says we must trust that this little boy loves her and will care for her. And we need to set up a meeting with all of them, and we'll fix this problem. You know, it's a pretty, you know, these aren't malevolent gods or whatever you call them. I just know that Ponyo is a beautiful film with beautiful animation, charming acting, beautiful watercolors. It's a hand-drawn, not a CGI, of course, but it's just got these It's like a watercolor environment. You see all these beautiful sea creatures. You got cuttlefish, eels, crabs. I mean, just an ocean lover's delight. It is such a beautiful movie, and I can't say anything bad about it. 10 out of 10.